I'll tell you more about because I did for a while. My weirdest credit in comedy was being Robin Williams' musical director.
Oh my God.
I
Really?
had to tour with him and three other guys who had a band called Rick and Ruby, and they were wonderful.
Wow.
Um, but I was touring with Robin right at the height of his popularity. So every night we would go out and he would be bombarded by these young women. And I once sold a a vial with an ounce of his urine in it for $500.
Holy shit.
It's a lot of money in those days.
Dystopia Tonight.
Fuck out of town! Fucking treasonous pieces of shit!
Dystopia Tonight.
Yay.
Hey, who's that kid behind you? Is that a child?
Is that where, right? I really hope you're kidding.
No, I'm not. Behind you to your right is what appears to be a small girl.
Oh my God. That honest to God, that will, you don't even know me. That will freak me out.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to see, is it a small girl?
No, but I'm gonna use that to go into my next bit is about. Do you know that it's easier to become a registered child molester in this country than a registered Democrat?
That's a horrifying point, and a good one though. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I are both registered pedophiles and Democrats.
Just to feel like you've accomplished something, right?
Oh, yeah. Now I'm done. You guys go.
What a great volley. Oh, that's so good. Dude, I'm so excited to have you on, man. I mean, I think we briefly talked about it backstage, but we were exchanging emails for a bit because we have a mutual friend in two of the nicest people who ran a comedy club in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, Harlan and Arlene, Bananas Comedy Club. I didn't know that you guys knew each other, or you knew Harlan since you were 12.
Yeah. Well, Harlan, I don't know if you guys know that I'm a former New York State table tennis champion.
No, I
I
had
did
no
not
idea.
know that.
1964.
Wow. That's incredible, man.
Yeah. Ask me what my style was.
What was your style?
Defensive. But, Harlan and I used to play table tennis together. We used to shoot pool across the street at Hessel's.
Oh,
We,
wow.
we played on 96th and Broadway at Marty Reisman's place.
Oh,
That's
wow.
incredible. And that's how you guys met?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Did either one of you have an interest in comedy back then?
Well, I was doing stand up then, and Harlan and I would go around looking for a place to him open up his first club. And the
Wow.
first one was in Poughkeepsie, New York,
Yep.
actually.
Oh, wow.
And I introduced him to Tom Herrera, to
Oh,
Ron Darien, to all the New York comics.
nice.
And he made a living at it for a while.
Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the ones who gave me him and Arlene allowed me to open for my first national headliner, and it was Jimmy Fallon before he took over for Conan. Not even he was taking over the late. Yeah. And he was going back on tour, and I had been performing at Bananas for a while, going between Poughkeepsie and Hasbrook Heights, and they just called me and they were like, "Hey, we want to know if you want to open for Jimmy Fallon." And I was like,
Wow.
"Yes."
Didn't he live in the area for a while?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his I think Poughkeepsie was like his home club. Like that was the one his dad first drove him to, and then Harlan and Arlene let him have like 5 minutes in front of somebody. You want one another Harlan story is like, because I was so like, I wouldn't say shy, but like I just didn't know what the protocol was. So it was the end of that. We did 5 shows together. I met his family, like the whole thing. It was really nice, but everyone was getting photos with him, and I was hanging back. And Harlan was like, "Go get your picture taken with him." I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to bug him." And he goes, "Let me tell you something about Jimmy." he took pictures with Lewis Black. I got pictures of him with, but he goes, he's gonna be fine. He's like, just walk up there, and I would have never gotten it if it wasn't for Harlan.
Yeah,
Nice guy.
It reminds me of the first time I worked with Rita Rudner. We worked in the South together.
Nice.
And I was so thrilled that she asked for my opinion on the joke. It was like an enormous compliment, and then she asked the cab driver, and then the club owner.
Oh, that's great. She's actually coming on in a couple weeks, Rita, for the first time. Yeah,
I had a great time working with her. Many places.
When you were, was she in your? Would you consider Rita
my
class before you?
No, I think we were in the same class.
You were in the same class. Okay.
She was a better dancer than me. She started out as a Broadway dancer.
So who were the people that you came up with?
With Dom and he's my closest friend in comedy.
Oh, nice.
And we started together. I started in 1981.
Oh, nice.
Stand up. John Heyman.
Oh, wow.
John Heyman is, I think, the funniest guy in America.
He's hilarious. Wow. Absolutely. Is he's still touring, isn't he?
No, he works on Curb now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I was new to the stand-up scene. I know I'm not speaking in entire sentences. That bothers me. I was new to the entire stand-up. Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
You're being blessed by so many people now. What was I talking about?
You're talking about John Heyman.
Oh, yeah. But when I first came to the Improv in New York, the people that impressed me were John Heyman because he wore a sport jacket. And I thought that was very classy.
Mm.
And then who's this guy that was married to Carol Leifer before she...
Oh.
Carol Leifer wasn't... I might be totally wrong, but Rich Scheidner? No? Am I totally wrong?
Yes, that's it.
No problem.
And I was impressed by him because he actually would get paid bus fare to do a club in Baltimore. And I couldn't imagine that getting that far in the business.
Yeah.
But what did you guys have clear steps like back then though, where you were like, okay, middle headliner, good enough to MC and pass other comedians like Tonight Show?
Yeah, but I think almost as important as being good on stage was being funny at the bar, because we actually got to make friends.
Absolutely.
But I was like an opening act, but I worked a lot because I had a car. And I booked a room in New Haven, so every week I would show up there with two other comedians.
Mm.
And Dom always said to me, "John, why can't you be funny like when you're in the car funny? You shouldn't stop when you get to the club." Did you work at Catch a Rising Star also?
I never got to do that. There's one Catch a Rising Star left, and it's in Princeton, New Jersey, but I never gotten to do it.
It's funny. I worked the one in Princeton, but I also used that was my main club in New York towards the end of my New York stint.
Wow.
I moved out of New York in 1985 to Newton, Massachusetts, which is my home now.
Oh, so you didn't do the Hollywood route?
No, I've never lived in LA.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I lived for 1 year to make a TV show with Bob Saget called Raising Dad. I pretend you were just talking about that.
Yeah. Speaking of Raising Dad, wait. So then, how was that like? How was that experience? Did you know Bob beforehand?
Yeah, I met Bob through the world of stand-up. Also, he hosted a morning show in New York,
right,
for one of the networks, and there was a guest on that show. But what's extraordinary about his comedy, and I know he's now the late Bob Saget, was the speed of his wit.
Yeah.
For it didn't matter if it was funny or not, it was just the speed.
Mm-hmm.
fact, better off not funny.
Did you have a plan as far as stand-up goes, other than just, you
Well,
know?
you know what's weird? I did the whole cabaret scene in New York.
Oh, okay.
Because I started out as a musical act. I had a trio, and then I was a frontman for a band called Katz and Jammers.
And we were just talking about Katz,
Yeah.
and honestly, I was just bringing that up with somebody that you also know.
If you want to waste everybody's time, you could look for Robin Williams singing a song I wrote.
Oh my God, I'm a huge Robin Williams fan.
I'm Mork and Mindy.
Boom. There's his little pin right there from Toys. Yeah, I would love. We could play that. We could bring that up.
Yeah, the song is called "This Heart Is Closed for Alterations." I don't know what episode it is, but
okay, we'll try to. Tom will try to find it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll try and knock it out.
Did you have any when you started out? Did you have your identity kind of set on stage, or did you grow into it?
well, I definitely grew into it. I mean, I had so little energy on stage. I remember my first joke was, I've been called a white Paul Simon, and that's because I would sing in my act, and I thought I was the only guy that sounded whiter than Paul Simon. And I also happened to look like him.
I've seen your stand-up, and I've seen like probably the later stuff. I didn't know that you did musical stuff beforehand. When did you leave that persona behind and find the one that you'd stuck with?
Tonight.
I'm happy to be your aha moment.
Yeah, I hate that expression.
You know what's crazy? I've never said that expression before, ever. I just said it just now. It's not something I use. Hilarious.
No, I hate when somebody, I'm working with a publicist now.
Okay.
And Jonathan, we need to find the aha moment.
Oh, no.
I was talking to somebody about being ghosted.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that expression means?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the guy who I was talking to earlier tonight had never heard that expression before. He wasn't sure he understood what it meant, but he used it 5 times during our conversation.
That kind of stuff does kind of creep in, and it's funny too because I'll hear my older relatives say that kind of stuff, and whether or not they use it incorrectly anymore within their group, it's correct because they only talk to each other. So right. That I have to now adapt to whatever it means to them because they're overpowering. I'm like I'm the only one here who knows what it really means.
John, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn, Borough Park, 40th Street, and then I'm primarily was raised in New Jersey from like middle school up.
What part of New Jersey?
Toms River, New Jersey.
Oh, geez, that was the call I didn't accept tonight. Oh my God. So, I'm saying to myself, I don't know anyone in Toms River. It was you. I apologize. You didn't leave a voicemail.
This is the most real conversation I've probably had on this whole. I love it. This is fantastic.
But she's come back, by the way. John,
what
I'm not kidding this time. There is a girl behind you.
I swear, Tom knows how freaked out I am about shit like that. I'm like, I love horror movies, but I genuinely am like constantly like weirded out by shit like that. Like my friend, I'm a big.
I'll take that. There are no children behind you.
I appreciate that.
She's grown up now.
Oh my God! Have you ever seen? Do you watch horror movies?
I actually don't like horror movies. I like in the morning. I like to wake up to violence. Not real violence, but I like to watch a violent movie just to get my blood pumping.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Are you talking about like Dahmer or like?
No, I'm talking about like a Denzel Washington movie.
Oh, like an action movie.
Yeah, what's the franchise that he had? Yeah, he has his head is shaved.
Yeah. Wait a minute, we're gonna figure this out together.
Yeah, that's how I find him. We look up
Equalizer, The Equalizer.
Oh, right.
Those are good flicks though.
Yeah, but the violence is so violent.
Oh, yeah.
After he times himself, he gives himself 15 seconds to kill everybody.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Well, he's on he's on a real tight schedule, man. He's got a, you know, he's also reading the Book of Eli, and he's, you know, patting Will Smith on the back for slapping Chris Rock. The man's busy.
Yeah, this guy has no job security anymore.
None.
I'll tell you more about because I did for a while. My weirdest credit in comedy was being Robin Williams' musical director.
Oh my God!
Really?
I had to tour with him and 3 other guys who had a band called Rick and Ruby, and they were wonderful.
Wow.
But I was touring with Robin right at the height of his popularity. So every night we would go out, and he would be bombarded by these young women. And I once sold a vial with an ounce of his urine in it, $500. You know, it's a lot of money in those days.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
no, but that was fun. I spent a year on the road with him for his first album, Reality. What a concept!
I
Wow.
mean, you can't see it now, but that album is hanging up on my wall back there. It's a great album. How did you guys wind up meeting at the Comedy Store or in San Francisco?
Because his first wife was an old girlfriend of mine.
And then you guys just became buddies on the road?
Yeah, you know, we would, when he was in Boston, we would get together and hang out. And I opened for him at the the San Francisco Comedy Festival.
Oh, nice.
It was an annual event in San Francisco.
Hmm.
But making him laugh was wonderful.
What made you move back to Massachusetts, like career wise? Like, so you were
It
doing.
had nothing to do with my career. It had to do with our daughter. First daughter Julia was 2.5 years old, and since Manhattan didn't seem like a good place to bring up a kid.
Oh, okay.
We were living on 72nd between First and York.
Okay.
And the manager of the building came by one day with a paper bag with $32,000 in it.
Holy shit!
And this is to encourage me to move, because they must have sold that apartment for at least $2 million.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And were you locked in there rent controlled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my dad's apartment before ours.
Oh my God.
Wow.
He's still there.
Oh.
He's now rent stabilized. 6 feet under.
So you didn't have any, like, there wasn't anything back then, like stigma about leaving the business, doing comedy, moving to, you know, Massachusetts? Like,
I moved to Massachusetts, but the day before I moved, I did the David Letterman show.
Oh, nice.
It was a little less painful because I just needed to live near an airport to work as a stand-up.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things I working as an opening act was that I would promise the club owner that I would do a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
And after every performance, and I didn't have a half hour, but I walk up to the owner afterwards, and I said, "Geez, exactly a half hour." I just lied to him.
You know, that's the cool thing though, is when you realize that they're not really I remember a club owner telling me, like, "Hey, listen, there's a table full of bankers. They paid a lot. Like, we had a full audience, but there was one table full of bankers, and they were like, just no fucks. Don't say don't say one fuck." And I never use that in my punchline. Like, it's not in my jokes, but it is how I speak. Just naturally, sometimes I'll be like, you know, in between stuff. So I just did what I normally do. And I got off stage and she was like, "See, it's not that hard not to curse." And I was like, I said it like 9 times. Like, it's like, no one's listening. No one gives a shit.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. It's a good feeling, but it's also like a weird feeling to have, because you're like, wow, I'm never going to move up because no one's watching. But at the same time, I can do whatever I want because no one's watching.
Well, I would have to say Ray Romano. I'm answering questions that you haven't asked yet.
Well, oh, God, can I think of who was the funniest person you worked with?
The what?
Funniest person you worked with. Was the answer Ray Romano?
No, but that happens to be, he's way up there. But the question you were going to ask was, of all my patients.
Ah, I like that.
I guess my best patients were Dom and Ray. And when I started the show, Dr. Katz, professional therapist, I took my role too seriously. She actually made one patient cry, a woman.
Who?
And I made another guy feel good about himself. That's in the 81 episodes we did. That's it. Because one of the there was a very large, many people were attached to the show, production companies, and there was a guy from HBO Downtown who said, "Jonathan, you know, Dr. Katz can be funny too," and that changed the show for me. I was just trying. I thought my job was to go, No, when I saw they don't really give a shit how they feel. You know?
I used to watch that show all the time, and like all my favorite comics were on there. I think you had all the guys that were like coming up around that time too. You had Jon Stewart on before he did the Daily Show, right?
Like,
yeah,
Stephen Wright,
Dave Attell,
right.
God, and Ray Romano, obviously.
Dave Attell is a serious genius.
Oh God, yeah.
His comedy is so brilliant.
He's the best,
yeah.
and like. And we all, I mean, I know it's not effortless, but when you watch him, you're like, it looks like it's so, even as a comic, you're just like, it looks like it's so easy to him.
Yeah.
It is. It's really kind of amazing.
He's really disgusting on the one hand. and so clever on the other hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He has the ability to make people like laugh at shit they absolutely would not agree with on any other occasion.
Well, that's a good way to describe him. John, that is your aha moment.
Wrap up the show. That's it. We're getting out now. Going out on top.
Well, David Attell was a great patient on the show. He was on. I was driving my daughter to middle school when the show was airing, and we listened to the rough drafts of the audio in the car with her friend, and David Attell was always the favorite.
Oh wow, yeah, that episode in particular was hilarious. Would you curate their material? Like, how would you set that kind of thing up? I was always curious. Like, would you run through material with them and go, okay, this is what we should work with and say, and I'll lead you into this, or would they just come with stuff prepared and you would just go with it?
The show got better when my co-producer Tom Snyder, the co-creator of the show, when we decided that what I really want is their material. So, you know, the show was made in Watertown, Massachusetts. And my partner was in the educational software business. So there were about 150 people working for him in that building. So his company. Wow. The animation was sort of an accidental discovery. He'd have maybe 30 or 40 people come down and they would be able to hear the comedian. And the comedian would not be able to hear the laughter. Oh, no, wait, that sounds like it. They would hear the comedian. The comedian would hear the laughter, which made it easier for the comedian. And the laughter would not bleed onto the tape.
Oh, gotcha. That's amazing though, because they were genuine performances. It seemed like.
Yeah. And those are the ones that really succeeded when people would in the moment doing their act.
Mm-hmm.
And also the scenes with me and my son Ben, voiced by John Benjamin.
Yeah, I love John Benjamin. So good. He's the best.
Yeah.
Was there anybody? I can't imagine there was anybody you couldn't get because you kind of knew everybody. But was there was there a white whale for you that you were like, "Man, we tried and we couldn't get him on"?
I don't understand the expression of white whale. I'm not giving you a hard time. Honestly, I've never heard that.
I thought it was white buffalo.
No, First of all, hold on, Tom. White Buffalo is from the movie with John Cusack and Craig Robinson or whatever.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah. And that was just a knockoff. So White Whale is from Moby Dick. It's the uncatchable thing. So your White Whale is like, who did you really seek to get on the show and could never catch?
Now I'm going to test your memory. Who else were we talking about during this conversation where Moby Dick would apply? To whom would I apply? We haven't talked about many things. We talked about the movie with Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
And what's the book that he's reading in that movie?
Something religious, right? I don't know.
No, it's Moby Dick.
Is it really?
Wow.
Yeah, he walks into that coffee shop, and the girl was there, and she would have, has he caught the fish yet? The girl was a hooker that got beat up every night.
That's right. That's insane. No, I don't know why. Maybe I subconsciously made that connection. I forgot. I haven't seen The Equalizer in years, but that's a good point. Holy mother, man, you're really good at this. I don't know if I trust talking to you anymore.
Yeah. When was the last time you said that to me?
Oh God.
What does this studio do when it's not being a studio? The room that you're in.
The room that I'm in?
Yeah.
This is just my office. So behind me is a drawing computer that I use to make when I illustrate like somebody's for a book or my own cartoons. I had a book of cartoons out for a while. I usually draw right over there on that. And the Mac that's over there is literally just so this giant thing can run. And then
like New Yorker cartoons.
Yep. So there's some sign. I have a Simpsons, Rolling Stone magazine. I've got a couple other magazines. I just decided to put stuff. This is pandemic shit, by the way. Like the walls were bare before the pandemic hit, and I was like, I got a bunch of comedy stuff I've never hung up. So I hung up all my albums that I collected when I was on the road. The Conan poster behind me. And then you can't see it over here, but there's another desk that I just use for like regular writing stuff and the old paper and pencil. Old school.
And I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. I apologize.
Oh, Tom?
Tom. And where are you now? Are you
am. Yeah, no, I'm in Staten Island, actually, New York, as well.
Are you trying to set me up for my favorite joke of all time?
No, but I can't wait to hear it.
Do you know how Staten Island got its name?
How's that?
Well, Columbus and his men were sailing, looking for America, and somebody spotted land, and he said, "Staten Island." Okay.
I've never heard that before.
Perfect.
I love it.
Okay, yeah,
that's fantastic. What'd you say?
No, actually, in clubs, people would say when people would boo at a joke, the comedian on stage might say, "You'll be telling that at work tomorrow."
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the truth.
Yeah. What? By the way, Carol Montgomery said to say hello and she loves you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, she wanted me to make sure you knew.
Tell her right back at her.
I absolutely will.
And then back to me.
Yes, of course.
We actually have a couple of questions too. I kind of wanted to feel.
Yeah, go for it.
So the Moore was asking, is Katz and Jammers on Spotify?
No.
Concise.
No. Unless you're listening to Spotify in my house. Well, for years I've been threatening to release an album called Easy Listening, but Not That Easy. And because I've written about 40 songs, and some of them are really good, and most of them would fall into the category of mediocre. But
was it? Did you always did you have more of an inclination to do songwriting than you did to do stand up? Did you want one more than the other?
Well, when I was growing up, every kid wanted to be a rock star. And when I was in college, every guy would try to impress women by his version of Blackbird singing them.
Yeah.
and they all would get stuck with the same chord. It's a very hard song to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to be a musician first and a songwriter and a comedian after that.
Which leads us back. I think I fixed our problems too, because we have another question about the Robin Williams one. So let's try it one more time.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Privileged to be here once again. Thank you all. Thank you all.
This heart is closed for alterations, and the management extends apologies. I'm sorry if I've inconvenienced you. I'll make it right before I'm through. But for a little while, just bear with me. This heart is closed for alterations, so please excuse the rubble and debris. You see, I've reached a few decisions, and I made a few revisions. I think we'll make a new man out of me.
Gizbom, was er doet. Rizbat, kibeba shibas barimemem, nimno barsibem nanu. Rasbedevishvim, rasbadivem bambarim agando.
I see that I've been taken out on you. The changes that she put me through. You're gonna see some changes made in me. This heart is closed. This heart is closed for alterations. This heart is closed. This heart is closed for alterations.
That was great.
Give it up. The other guys in the band, they were 2/3 of an act called Rick and Ruby, that would open for Robin when we toured together. And you could hear Robin singing 2 of my songs on my podcast, which is called Hey, We're Back.
Oh, wow.
Don't pretend you don't hear that.
John's got his mic muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mike is muted. Sorry, I was gonna say I love that podcast. I'm like not. I didn't realize that I was muting my mic so I wouldn't accidentally like sneeze over the song we finally got up, and then I was like,
Yeah. No, I thought you were being dismissive.
no, no, I would never. I love you. I would never be dismissive. No, that was great. No, I do. I love that podcast. That podcast is. I was excited when you actually came back with a podcast. You did it twice, right?
Yes, I would take a break to make some money occasionally. Because my podcast has never earned money.
Oh God, yeah.
Not only that, I pay a producer, an editor, a publicist, and an illustrator. I have 4 people on my payroll to make this podcast.
I gotta tell you, man. I got it's all me. This is why these episodes are coming out like a little later than they used to, because I'm still the only one editing them and posting about it and trying to get it out there. And I should hire people. I should first make money and then I should hire people.
That money will come. What software do you use to edit the podcast?
I use my Apple iPad, and I use a program called Video Leap.
Video Leap?
Video Leap. LEAP. Yeah, by Light Tricks. They're actually really good.
Never heard of that.
It's very so. I mean, I know there's the other ones that you can use on your computer or whatever that cost real money.
Adobe Premiere,
and all this stuff. But Video Leap is really, really great and really intuitive. So, like, if by chance, like when I edit the episodes, I just kind of file a template away. So, at the very least, when I'm cutting stuff up, that's already set in place, and I don't have to do anything like in between. But when I post clips on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever the hell else I post on, it has templates that are pre-made for that. So all I have to do is kind of insert stuff, and it lets you do different transitions, and it's honestly, I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it's literally at the touch of a finger. So there's no like, you know, there's no learning curve to it. It's actually really great.
Yeah, I have a friend who only edits on an iPad now.
Mm.
He recommended something else, but
Oh,
can't remember what the name of it was.
was it InShot?
No,
Okay.
but it was
trying
just it was just audio.
Oh, it's just audio.
Yeah.
Oh, he might be talking about the one that I use, John. The
GarageBand?
Descript.
Oh, Descript?
No, but I know what the script is, but that's not it.
Yeah, Descript's not on an iPad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I edit with Reaper.
Oh, I've heard of that. I've never used it though. Is it good?
But, it's so complicated.
Yeah.
That's what appeals to me, but that the ones you were describing.
Yeah. Try Video Leap, and if you have any actual problems with it, or if you need any help, you got my number now that you ignored. You can just give me a ring back.
But you're not the guy in Tom's River, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's where the number comes from.
Yeah.
Well, I also didn't want to leave a voicemail because I didn't really know if it was you. So I was like, what if I'm like, hey, man, you going to do my show? And it's some weirdo on the other end of the line that's like, yeah, I'd like to do your show. Who knows?
Yeah.
I have another. Go ahead.
Oh, it's not going to happen so much because of the world of Zoom. It's making it very challenging for a guy to make an obscene phone call. What woman in her right mind is going to click on the link?
Yeah, that's a real good point.
At a specific time.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to go that. You know what? It's going to make the obscene phone call guys work a little bit harder because they have to like pretend that they're normal, go through the whole facade, set up a Zoom link, and then drop trow at like 4:30.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard they started with the phone call like, "Hey, we have a charge on Amazon that you let through." I'm like, no, I didn't. I'll press 1. Lead into it.
So I got more questions about Dr. Katz though, because I know you actually are a doctor. So did you ever have anybody?
No, here's the weird part. I'm not a doctor.
You're not really a doctor. I thought you did have a degree, a PhD.
No, I have a bachelor's degree from Goddard College, and I have an honorary doctorate.
The honorary, okay.
But I've never been a doctor.
Wow, that's friggin' fascinating. Because
even though Erica Rhodes' mother was convinced I was a psychiatrist.
I love that because I know Erica. She's amazing, and her mother's hilarious when they do their little videos and stuff like that together. So that I truly believe that her mother thought you were a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But you must have picked up something over the years.
Well, if you live in Newton, Massachusetts, where I live, if somebody screams help in the middle of the night, people go out there with their antidepressants and start shaking them. It has the highest per capita number of therapists of any city in the country.
Wow. Why is that?
I don't know. But I'm the only fictitious one.
Well, you fooled me as a kid because I was like, this guy's great. He's getting them to tell jokes. They're opening up. Yeah. Do you think after talking to comedians though for so many years, like, do you go to therapy? Are you?
Oh yeah, I see a real therapist, and I can't stop telling jokes when I go there. That's the problem.
Oh yeah.
And I said to her the last time I saw her that I know this is not the way it's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be some crying involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is terrible when you pay for a therapist and you go, but you're also like, man, I got a new 5 and I need an impartial third party. So let me go run through this shit. I've had therapists though where like I had to leave because I could tell that they were just interested in talking to like nothing was getting done. And I was like, oh, this is their like 45-minute playtime. One time I was talking to one and he was I had to be over the phone and he was literally, it's not me, I swear, you can answer it. But he was like literally like shuffling pay. And I was like, are you moving like furniture? He was like, oh yeah. I'm just doing some work around the house. I'm like, while you're listening to me, like, what the fuck is going on?
That's not right. That's not fair to you.
No, that ended rather quickly.
I once saw a therapist in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I drove there on my bike.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing he said to me is, "You have to be crazy to drive here without a helmet," which is not a great opening line for a therapist. And then I told him, I said, Dr. Whitney, I had dinner with my dad last night, and I made a classic Freudian slip. I meant to say, "Can you pass me the salt, please?" But it comes out, you prick, you ruined my childhood. And he said, the therapist said, "Would you like me to laugh at that?"
Oh wow.
And I said, "Not if you can help it." That's how I feel about comedy.
Yeah. It's a good. I mean, did you ever accidentally get somebody to open up to you, like when you were doing this kind of stuff, like where you were like, did you ever hear something from a comic that you weren't too familiar with, and you were like, "Holy shit, was that real, or was that the like it was too close to home"?
No, I mean there was this woman once who was opening up to me about a real disorder of hers, and
Wow.
as long as she knew I wasn't a therapist, which she knew me as a comedian,
Yeah.
and if I thought it would seek a comedian who was at the risk of doing harm to themselves,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, that makes sense. Did you, when you were a kid, did you have, other than being a musician and a comic, were your interests always in entertainment? Do you have anybody in your family that was part of show business?
No. I had friends when I was a kid. Josh Mostel was a good friend of mine, and he's the son of Zero Mostel, so I was exposed to show business from the wings a little bit.
Nice.
I did go to music camp when I was a kid. I was a violinist.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We just had we had a fiddler and a violinist on the show recently. One from the band, The Clientele, and another from a band I like that's an Irish band called Gaelic Storm. And I love violin. I love string music. I think it's very soothing.
Yeah, I play the lap steel guitar now because I've been living with MS for 30, almost 25 years.
Wow, dude.
Really?
My left hand is not strong enough to finger the chords.
Oh man.
So I do that with a slide. So I've gone from playing fairly sophisticated jazz to, if I'm lucky, really good country music.
Wow. But that's a huge thing. I mean, at least you were able to transition into. Do you feel better being able to transition to another piece of music as opposed to not being able to play at all?
Oh yeah,
good.
But I feel like I've been demoted.
Yeah.
Just because. Were you guys talking about Mel Torme recently?
He did mention Mel Torme, yeah. When I said the Mel Brooks thing, yeah.
Oh, in what context? Was just trying to think of Mel's.
Just Mel's, yeah.
He pointed at an album and he said, "That's Mel." I said, "Torme."
Oh,
yeah. Mel Torme is good too. I got nothing against him. But by the way, Tom and I do a MS benefit every year in March.
You don't have to say that. You really
no,
don't.
we.
No, my wife is actually in the middle of an inflammation right now. That we're that we're doing treatment. That she's going for the steroid treatments. But yeah.
Put her on the phone.
Put her on the phone. You said I'll grab her. I don't know if she'll get on.
No. When was she diagnosed, Julie?
6 years ago. It's actually our 6-year anniversary yesterday. I believe yesterday, the day before. Yeah, thanks.
But is she on? You don't have to tell me what kind of medication, but is she on medication?
No, absolutely. We're pretty open about everything. Babe, you want to jump on real fast? The gentleman that we have on with us, Jonathan Katz, is actually also a MS warrior. We would just, she said high five, and we're just switching medication. We're on Copaxone for this first 6 years.
Oh,
and now I think
that's what I'm taking now, and I have no idea if it does anything good or bad.
We found overall it's the least aggressive for sure, but it's also doesn't have the highest efficacy. So they wanted to move her to something a little bit stronger because she had something active. So I think we're moving to Ocrevus, which is a very aggressive one, but it's like a once every 6 month infusion as opposed to every other day shot that we do.
Now, does your wife enjoy recreational drugs?
You know what's funny? We were just discussing that because she doesn't try marijuana, but she's been reading that a lot of people find a lot of relief with.
I'm going in a different deck.
Oh,
Yeah. This is one of the things about Ocrevus, is that before they will give you the infusion the first time. They have to make sure you won't have an allergic reaction.
Yep.
And they give you an infusion of Benadryl.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never been so high.
Really?
I love that. I couldn't speak. My wife was with me. I couldn't form words. But it felt so good. So in case but I'm not sure that would appeal to her. It doesn't sound like.
I don't know if she would. He was just saying that Benadryl. Sorry, because she's right off camera, but she doesn't want to be on it. But he's saying that his Benadryl infusion pre-Ocrevus was a euphoric high. It was one of his favorite if you have to take an infusion. Yep. Yep, that's it. It's coming up.
Not to try and make any sense while she's on it.
So don't try to make any sense while you're on it. It's, with Benadryl. That it was just a floating feeling. She said, "Sounds good." She's gonna pop a Xanax as well.
Yeah, Benadryl's no joke. I used to like. When I had trouble sleeping at night, I would take Benadryl, but man, it made it so much more difficult to wake up the next day. Like it felt like somebody was just holding your face down in bed.
Yeah, like Tylenol PM is the most powerful drug in the world.
Oh God, yeah.
It doesn't get you high; it just helps you sleep.
Oh my God,
yeah.
It's but have you ever beaten it where like you kind of not force yourself, I guess, but like for some reason you just wind up staying awake on either NyQuil or Tylenol PM. You get like you start getting like delirious, like you can't even tell if you're asleep or not anymore.
That's the worst feeling.
I'm a little bit interested. No, I take Ambien every night.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Dude.
Which is, I know you're not supposed to take it every night, year after year. I know it's a bad habit.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst bad habit I have.
Well, if you do take Ambien, at some point you will wind up losing your sitcom to Sarah Gilbert. So that's a rocky road you don't want to take.
I don't get the connection. Did Sarah Gilbert have a bet?
I don't know what's wrong with me. No, because Roseanne tweeted that stuff and tried to say she was on Ambien, like she didn't mean it.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and then she lost her sitcom, and Sarah Gilbert. I
think you were talking about Little House on the Prairie. Is that a different Gilbert?
But that's a good connection. It's fair.
Yeah. It's more reasonable than Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah. Who we also love.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm still in awe, man, that you got to tour around with Robin Williams during the heyday. That must have been exciting. Was that? But would you consider like did you have like a crew? You know what I mean? Because I feel like in my mind, like back then, I don't even know if it was around the same time, but I know that like I just did an interview with Paul Reiser, but I know him and Seinfeld and Larry Miller and
Bill
Maher, like those guys hung out, right? Like that was a clique basically back then. But was it all like that, or did you have like a?
My clique was Don Marrera
and
his wife at the time, Lisa Mendy.
Oh, okay.
Who had a great act called Mendy and King. She did improv with Michael Patrick King.
Yeah, Michael Patrick, great.
And John Heyman, Alan Havey.
Oh, Alan Havey we had on too. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Love Alan Havey. And you said Mike Rowe never mentioned you. We had him on too.
Yeah, I used to like him.
I will let him know. Well, he's great. I can't believe he didn't mention you. That's crazy.
He grew up in the town of Waterbury, Connecticut, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a stand-up show there about once a month, and they did it with a guy named George Calfa, who I don't even know if he does stand-up anymore.
Mm.
But the audience was not aware that there was a show going on. It was that kind of crowd.
Okay.
And George Calfa opened the show, and once he realized that no one was listening, he just put on headphones and listened to the game.
Oh my God. I see that. You can't do that stuff anymore, but that's hilarious.
Yeah.
The clubs don't allow you to play anymore, which is a shame because all the stories I grew up on when I was a kid that made me want to be a stand-up is stuff that you guys kind of just did and talked about, like fooling around at the Comedy Store when nothing really mattered. You know, when it was all new, or like the
Right.
comic strip or the improv or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you miss doing it?
I do. You know, and the last time I was on stage was a club in Cambridge called the Comedy Studio. Actually,
Yeah, Comedy Studio. I love that place.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's back in Cambridge now. It was for a time being. It would have been in Somerville.
Yeah,
Um,
I did it in Somerville and I did it in Cambridge.
Yeah, it's a great club. It's a very supportive owner and audience. Rick
Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great room. I was supposed to be there before the pandemic hit, and then I never rescheduled.
Yeah.
It's a great room, though.
Did you get sick at all during the pandemic?
I didn't get COVID until last May. I avoided it for 2 years, and then Omicron got me.
How were you exposed to it? Did you go to a restaurant or?
No, I got it at a wedding.
You idiot! No,
I
no.
know. But it's so you're so right to say that. Yeah.
Wedding / super spreader.
Yeah. It was such a useless thing to do though too, because like, I mean, one, it's a wedding. Nobody wants to go to a wedding, but two,
Yeah.
it was that thing where they were like, everyone's getting tested, we're all being safe, everyone's getting, and I was just like, all it takes is one idiot, right? Like, and I knew it, and that was it. There was one idiot, and then got us all, and I was pissed.
Yeah.
Hey, did you have a good time with Wendy Liebman?
I had a blast. I love Wendy Liebman. She was so much fun. I've known Wendy for a really long time. She's fantastic.
Did you know her from the club scene in New York?
No, from when I moved out to LA, she invited me out to her show, Homegrown Comics.
Oh,
yeah, and you know, and we talked a little bit online before that, and then I moved out to LA, and she invited me out, and it was just a blast. And she's just this, you know, she's one of the nicest people ever. It's great.
she is. Why did you move to LA?
I had a dream, and I moved to LA. I'd been doing stand up, I think, like 10 years at that point, and I don't know. I just wanted it. I had a bunch of network meetings out there, and because I'm stupid, I was like excited to go do those meetings, and I was like, you know what? I need a change. I don't want to live in Jersey anymore, and there's a lot of other stuff kind of going on. And I was like, I'm just going to move. I'm going to move to LA. I've got those meetings out there. I got a lot of stuff to do. I'm doing the Ice House and a couple other places. I'll just stay there. So I packed up a bunch of stuff, left a ton of shit behind, and drove cross country and moved out there and got really depressed.
How long did you stay out there?
2 years.
That's too long.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, no one told me that, like, you know, once all the meetings were done and all the comedy was done, not the comedy, you know what I mean? But like, there's no road work, and then there was nothing else to do. And so you're just kind of, I didn't know anybody. I moved out there without knowing anybody out there. So it was very lonely for a bit, for a while.
Yeah, I gotta sort of put a time frame on this thing because my wife and I are traveling early tomorrow morning to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do some packing.
I open up to you and you tell me, no, I'm just kidding. You know, you get me to just, no, I'm kidding. No, that's actually, we did hit an hour mark, but I do have 3 questions that I ask every guest on the show. Can I run those by you?
Please.
Absolutely. Okay, first question's kind of a softball one, but if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Don't be humiliated by pimples.
Oh, solid. Like a kid, yeah, everybody gets them. We all get pimples.
Yeah,
I had bad acne when I was a kid.
I read about that. The trades.
This is my favorite interview ever. Ever. I love this. Second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
What had to end?
Yeah, what had to end?
Well, it's kind of a maudlin answer, but I guess the death of my mother.
Oh, wow.
She died when I was 16.
Wow.
And the guy who drove me to the burial of my mother, we got to the the place where she was being buried, and he said to me, kid, people are dying to get into this place. And I said, if you can't do any better than that, I'm going to have to get into the comedy business. No, that was a bad. I was working too hard. Let's see the third question.
I can't. I love this. The third question is, if this was a genuine dystopia, the show's called Dystopia Tonight. It could be a government collapse or aliens or zombies or a comet heading toward Earth, but you wake up and you know it's everybody's last day on Earth. What would be your epic death? How would you want to go out? And what would be happening?
Oh, did you hear my wife?
What did you say?
Benadryl. That's just how good it is. But you have to tell your wife that this is just to make sure that she doesn't have an allergic reaction to the Ocrevus or Ocrevus.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. I definitely will. And I'm going to hold you to it. If you could come back when we do our fundraiser, we would love to have you with us.
Yeah.
We usually have a bunch of warriors on.
Do you do it online?
We do it here. We do it 24 hours straight.
Oh, really?
Yep. And last year we had
Art Alexicus from Everclear, who's been battling it for years. We have a lot of people, just very inspirational stories, people that are in the industry and even out.
Shelley Fabre was on with Mike Farrell because Shelley knew people who had MS. Everybody needs.
If you can get Annette Funicello on the show.
That was who she knew.
That's who she knew.
Oh.
Yeah. I can't. I love this. Is killing me.
I have the same birthday as Richard Pryor, December 1st.
Really?
Yep. The same disease as Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also the same birthday as Woody Allen.
Wow.
Sarah Silverman, Larry Charles, and yes, Ed Hochstein.
Who's Ed Hochstein?
The guy who couldn't make it in comedy. He became a financial planner. So guys, thank you both so much for your hospitality.
Thank you so much. It
Thank you so much,
a pleasure, for sure.
Okay, take care.
Hope you had fun, man.
Thanks.
Bye.
Dystopia Tonight.